Hello and welcome back in, everybody. Today I'm bringing you another deck tech here. This one is an old commander, but it's getting reprinted with new art, I should add. And I thought I would try to give it a little update to its deck list to get those numbers up a little bit. It's sitting around 800 decks currently on EDH Rec, which ain't too bad, but I think this one is actually a really powerful commander if you build around it. I mean, you do have to maintain it, but if you build your whole deck around it, it could be really strong and really fun by the looks of it. So let's get into it. It's Endrek Sahr, Master Breeder, 4 and a black for a 2/2 human wizard. He says, whenever you cast a creature spell, create X 1/1 black Thrall creature tokens, where X is that spell's mana value. When you control 7 or more Thralls, sacrifice Endrek Sahr, Master Breeder. So it's pretty clear what we want to be doing here. We have tons of creatures in the deck to get that to proc as many times as we want, but the hard part here is you have to have sacrifice outlets that will be able to keep that number under 7. You have to stay at most 6 and use some of your free sacrifice outlets here, or maybe even some of your paid ones to just stay under 7 so you don't accidentally sacrifice your commander. So with that, we'll go into some of the sacrifice outlets I have here. First one up, Bloodflow Connoisseur. It's 2 and a black for a 1/1 vampire, also a creature, so that'll give us 3 Thralls right off the bat. So it's nice that we have some of our sacrifice outlets on creatures. It says sacrifice a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on Bloodflow Connoisseur. So this one requires no mana, also doesn't require us to tap it, so we can keep those numbers in check no matter how many Thralls that we need to sacrifice. And I got another free sacrifice outlet here with Yahenni, Undying Partisan. It's 2 and a black for a 2/2 Aetherborn vampire with haste. It says whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Yahenni, Undying Partisan, and you can sacrifice another creature to give Yahenni indestructible until end of turn. Again, just like Bloodflow Connoisseur, Yahenni is a creature with a free sacrifice outlet on it that does protect itself. It also gets bigger the more creatures that we remove from our opponents. Another one here is Thought Picker Witch, 1 black mana for a 1/1 human wizard, has pay 1 to sacrifice a creature, so this one isn't free. However, I think the payoff's pretty worth it. Look at the top 2 cards of target opponent's library, then remove one of them from the game, and then you just put the other one back. This can be absolutely brutal. I mean, I don't think you'd want to do this. However, the mean way you could do it is you can look, and then if your opponent is kind of land screwed, you know, you exile the land and give them the spell, so that way they're kind of screwed. That's the mean way to play this card. I don't think you want to do that. Probably just get their value pieces gone straight from the top of their library. They may hate you for it, but hey, it's pretty strong. Next up, we'll go into some of our removal here. First up, we got Stronghold Assassin, 1 black for a 2/1 zombie assassin. Tap, sacrifice a creature, destroy target non-black creature. So this one, a little bit slower on the sacrifice, so it's not one of our free sacrifice outlets, but the payoff here is worth it. You know, every time we sacrifice a creature, destroy target non-black creature, there's a lot of things you can be killing that aren't black. There's probably going to be plenty of valid targets for this guy. Another one here, similarly, Phyrexian Plague Lord, 3 black for a 4/4 Phyrexian Carrier. Tap, sacrifice Phyrexian Plague Lord. Target creature gets -4/-4 until end of turn, so you can use that in a pinch if you need to. Or sacrifice a creature. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Again, another sacrifice outlet that's free, and it also removes our opponent's creatures. This one's really cool. Next up, I got a really interesting one, Helm of Possession. It's a 4 mana artifact, pretty old here, a little expensive too. If you're doing this deck on a budget, you don't have to include this one, but I just like the synergy here with all the sacrifice outlets and what it's doing. So you may choose not to untap Helm of Possession during your untap step. You can also pay 2 and tap this, sacrifice a creature, and gain control of target creature for as long as you control Helm of Possession, and Helm of Possession remains untapped. I put this under removal because you're going to be stealing your opponent's creature while also sacrificing one of your Thralls, so you're good on that front. And then as soon as you gain control of it, you can either use it to your end, or you can just sacrifice it to one of your other outlets. It's pretty cool, this one. I think this is absolutely brutal, just taking your opponent's creatures and throwing them away to your own benefit. I think you might draw some hate with this deck, but I don't really care. This seems really fun, even if it is a little mean. And then obviously, how are we going to win? Probably the best way to win is to throw in some of the Aristocrat cards. So we have all the common ones, you know, everybody knows about the most popular Aristocrat cards, but let me go over some of the other ones here. We got Sanguinary Priest up first, 3 and a black for a 2/4 Astartes Cleric with lifelink, has Blood Chalice. So whenever another creature you control dies, Sanguinary Priest deals 1 damage to any target. I specifically like this one because it does shoot any target, so you can use your opponent's life total if you want, but you can also get rid of their creatures if you need to. Next up here, everyone's favorite from Lord of the Rings, Mirkwood Bats. 3 and a black, 2/3 bat, flying. Whenever you create or sacrifice a token, each opponent loses 1 life. This is going to go bananas. Say you cast a 3-drop, create 3 tokens, sacrifice those 3 to cast something else. That's another 3. That's so much damage from this guy. It's absolutely insane. You're going to want to protect this guy if you can. Another one that's kind of aristocracy, but it's more value than draining your opponents out. Phyrexian Vivisector, 1 and a black for a 2/2 Phyrexian human. Whenever a creature you control dies, scry 1. This is going to be going off all the time. Every time you're sacrificing something, you're going to be scrying 1, so you can get exactly exactly what you want on the top of your library. And say if any of our non-token creatures end up dying to say a board wipe or something like that, we do have some recursion in the deck to get them back. First up here, Hell's Caretaker, 3 and a black, 1/1 horror. It says tap, sacrifice a creature to return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate this ability only during your upkeep. Pretty self-explanatory. Tap it, sacrifice a thrall, bring back our Stronghold Assassin or maybe a Ravenous Chupacabra, something that gets that ETB going. This one's really cool. I also like Altar of Baal, 1 and a black for an artifact. It does have an adventure on it, so it's Bone Offering, 2 and a black for a sorcery. Adventure says create a tapped 4/1 black skeleton creature token with menace. I don't foresee us ever using this, but if you need a body in a pinch, which I doubt you will in this deck, you can use it if you need to. However, the altar says 2 and a black, tap, exile a creature you control, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, activate only as a sorcery. So this one's pretty similar to Hell's Caretaker. However, you have to pay mana for this one. Next up, we'll go into some of the draw here. First up, we got Smothering Abomination, 2 black for a 4/3 Eldrazi, has Devoid and Flying. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature. Whenever you sacrifice a creature, draw a card. So the stipulation being you have to sacrifice a creature on every one of your upkeeps. If this is out with your commander, there's no possible way you're going to have to sacrifice one of these guys unless somebody wipes all the tokens away, which in that case, you could just sacrifice something else, then get it back later with your recursion. But every time you're sacrificing a creature, you're drawing a card. This is such a good piece in this deck. Dig for this, get your Phyrexian Vivisector to find this, play it out as soon as you can, and just go to town with all the card draw. It's really cool. Got another card draw option here. Priest of Forgotten Gods. It's 1 and a black for a 1/2 human cleric. It says tap, sacrifice 2 other creatures. No big deal in this deck. 2 thralls. Any number of target players each lose 2 life and sacrifice a creature. You add black and draw a card. So this is ramp and card draw on 1. Funnily enough, with our commander out and we play this, obviously it doesn't have haste, but I suppose the next turn, this gives us the 2 bodies from our commander to use for its own ability. So at the very least, you can use that ability once. Another very powerful one here. Plumb the Forbidden, 1 and a black for an instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may sacrifice 1 or more creatures. When you do, copy the spell for each creature sacrificed this way, and you draw a card and lose a life. Pretty much you're not going to be going past 6 with this. You could probably sacrifice up to your 6 thralls, draw 6, lose 6 for 2 mana is absolutely insane value. Great card in the deck. And last but not least, per usual, I'm going over some of the general utility in the deck that will just help it perform more fluidly. First up here, we got Altar of Dementia. This is kind of like an alternate win con here for us. It's 2 mana for an artifact. Sacrifice a creature. Target player puts a number of cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power from the top of their library into their graveyard. It is only 1 per thrall we have here, but with all the creatures we have in this deck, you know, we have 35 creatures. So this could end up really hindering our opponents if we can start to mill them out a little bit. I doubt we'll mill out everybody or even at 1 single player down to 0, but at least it'll get rid of some of their options to win the game for them. And probably one of the all-stars in this deck, this card is insanely good. Conspiracy, 3 black for an enchantment. Says, as Conspiracy comes into play, choose a creature type. Creature cards you own that aren't in play, creature spells you control, and creatures you control are the chosen type. So you just choose Squirrel. This comes in, choose Squirrel, choose Eldrazi. Heck, doesn't even matter. As long as it's not Thrall, because Endrek Sahr only cares if you have 7 or more Thralls, and if they aren't Thralls and they're, say, Squirrels as opposed to Thralls, you won't have to sacrifice your Endrek Sahr, and then you can save all your Thralls up for either a massive swing or to use for certain sacrifice effects. You can keep a bunch of your Thralls and then have your finger on the trigger for Altar of Dementia. If they want to mess with your board, yeah, sure, I'll just sacrifice my 20 Thralls, you'll be milling 20. So Conspiracy, absolute banger in this deck. Super cool. Another one here, we got Gothmog, Morgul Lieutenant, 3 and a black for a 3/3 human soldier. It says when Gothmog, Morgul Lieutenant enters the battlefield, amass Orcs 1. So it just gives us another token, which is nice. However, creature tokens you control have Death Touch. This is insane in this deck. Having all the creature tokens we need in the world means we have protection from anyone who wants to swing on us, save for flyers. If all of our Thralls have Death Touch, that means no one's swinging on us because nobody's going to want to lose their creatures for little Thralls that we can get back so easily. And last but not least, I got Mind Crank here, 2 mana artifact. Whenever an opponent loses life, that player mills that many cards. So it turns out we actually might be able to mill someone out with that Altar of Dementia and Mind Crank win con. You know, something like our Mirkwood Bats is in play. They're dealing a bunch of damage. They're losing a bunch of life. They're milling a bunch of cards. That is nice to be able to win with something other than combat damage or our Aristocrats. So that is it for this deck tech. I really like this deck. Again, I'm going to keep this one in mind. I probably won't build it currently. I already have 1 mono black deck. I don't have a mono black Aristocrats deck. I don't have any Aristocrats deck for that matter. And this one seems like it could be super fun. So give this guy a shot if you want to. If you open him up in a Commander Masters draft or something like that, you got your next Commander deck here. And if you want to check out the entire deck list, it's down in the description. So thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. All right, take care.